So, continuing with the romantic story from the Bhagavatam. We hear about Krishna's romance, then we will lose a desire to have our own romantic interludes. That's the process. See, Krishna is romantic, and we should not be romantic. Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunja Bihari Hagute Gopi Janabalaba Yirivaruragude Bijanabalaba Yirivarudari Gopi Janabalaba Yirivarudari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Manachare Yamuna Tera Manachare Jayaran Madhuva Kunjabi Hagute Jayarad Madhava Kunjabi Hagute Gopi Jana Bhalagapa Giri Bharadhari Gopi Jana Bhalagapa Giri Bharadhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Manachagate Yamuna Tera Manachagate Jaya Radhu Madhava Kunjabi Hagute Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hare. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya Suteta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Adanta Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Svasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyamakunda Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturidam Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai, Yuvanamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatra Dejatarni. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 63rd chapter, text 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naradat Tad Upakarnya Vartam Bodhosya Karma Cha Prayayu Shunata Purang Vishnaya Krishna Daivata Naradatta Upakarnya Vartam Badatsya Karma Cha Prayayu Shunita Purang Vishnaya Krishna Daivata Naradatta Upakarnya Vartam Badhosya Karma Cha Prayayu Shunita Puram Vishnaya Krishna Daivataha Naradatta Upakarnya Vartam Badhosya Karma Cha Prayayu Shunita Puram Vishnaya Krishna Daivataha. Okay. right? Naradat, from Narada. Tat, that. Upakarnya, hearing. Vartam, news. Bodhvasya, about him who was captured. Karma, actions. Cha, and. Prayayu, they went. Shonitapuram, to Shonitapura. Vishnaya, the Vrishnis. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Daivataha, having as their worshipable deity. Translation, after hearing from Narada the news of Aniruddha's deeds and his capture, the Vrishnis who worship Lord Krishna as their personal deity went to Shonitapura. So you can repeat, after hearing from Narada the news of Aniruddha's deeds and his capture, the Vrishnis who worship Lord Krishna as their personal deity went to Shonitapura. So, there's no commentary by the followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, and very short commentaries by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, hearing news of Aniruddha and his activities, the Vrishnis went to Shonitapura. Jiva Goswami states, Tad refers to Aniruddha. Properly, it should be Tasha, but for metrical reasons, it is Tad. They heard closely, secretly, the news of Akarnya. They went to Shonitapura with great zeal. Prayayu. Krishna was Aniruddha's grandfather and Swayam Bhagavan. He was the most worshipable by the Yadus, Krishna Daivataha. This means they did not have fear. This also means that Krishna went, since they followed him. And Sanatana Goswami says pretty much the same thing. Then, Tat, hearing Akarnya about the news from Aniruddha, Tat from Narada closely, secretly, Upa, the Yadus went with great zeal, Pra, to Shonitapura because their deity was the Supreme Lord Krishna. Since they went by his order or by his mercy, they possessed all powers. So again, Narada Tadopa Karnya Vartam Padasha Karmacha Prayayu Shonita Puram Vishnaya Krishna Daivataha. So Omagana Timidandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. So you must be wondering what happened to Aniruddha in the meantime. And the Harivamsa describes that actually Banasura was actually very impressed with Aniruddha's prowess. And on the advice of his assistants, he didn't kill Aniruddha, but allowed him to remain bound up by these snake weapons. Now, Aniruddha, being in imprisoned with these snake weapons, was feeling pastimes, feeling some pain. So what happened is that Durga appeared before him, and Durga released him from his chains. So you may say, you may ask, why didn't Aniruddha just escape at that time and attack Banasura again? The reason is that Durga told him to stay put. This is Krishna's pastimes. Krishna is coming with everybody. Your grandfather is coming with everybody to take care of everything. So you just stay in jail, make believe you're still captured like this. Very, very interesting. Meantime, back in Dwarka, it's described in this is all from Harivamsa, of course, not from my imagination. Back in Dwarka, the wives of Aniruddha, it appears that Aniruddha had quite a few wives, that Ucha was not his first. In those days, the Kshatriyas, they generally had many wives, of course. Nobody could equal Krishna as far as the amount of wives, 16,108. Of course, anyway, there's that all other story about Chitraketu with 10 million wives, but I think it's a little hyperbole, isn't it? So in any case, Krishna had 16,108 wives, and Aniruddha had a lot of wives, and the wives were all crying. This went on for months. Some of the acharyas say it was 4 months, some of them say it was 6 months. There's a difference in some of the calculations. But anyway, it was a long time, and they were crying, where is our Aniruddha, where is our Aniruddha? And so then the Yadavas all met to decide what's going to happen. And they sent out spies all over the kingdom. And no one could find out where Aniruddha was. Finally, as described here, after everyone's in complete anxiety, except for Krishna, because Krishna understands everything, being the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead, finally Narada Muni arrives. In other words, he doesn't go immediately to tell them because he wants their emotion to be built up to the highest peak. As he's spoken about many times before, that Krishna arranges these particular pastimes so that emotions come to the practically intolerable level. Emotions of separation, emotions of anxiety. And so this actually brings the devotee, we mentioned this, of course, many times before in class, that it brings the devotees closer to Krishna when he puts someone in anxiety. And even pure devotees experience anxiety. And of course, Prabhupada experienced anxiety because he wanted to preach Krishna consciousness. The pure devotees are anxiety about the plight of the conditioned souls. There's that one story when Prabhupada was in anxiety when he sent Tamal Krishna Maharaj to buy the land in Mayapur. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj had all this money in his improvised money belt. The people in India used to call the devotees the blue bellies. Do you remember that? The reason is the money belts would actually be blue. And they were after our money, and then they would have razor blades, and they would, anyway, it's another issue. They would cut off the belts and take them away before the devotees noticed. So in any case, so Prabhupada was in anxiety, and he was up all night long, pacing back and forth and chanting until Tamal Krishna Maharaj came back after purchasing the land. So anxiety is part and parcel of Krishna consciousness. And Krishna arranges to put his devotees in extreme emotional pain, distress, and hankering, and that's how we become Krishna conscious. Yugayitam nimishena chakshusha prashayatam shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda vidahaname. And anyway, so eventually Narada Muni arrives. Now remember, we're going to talk about this in a second and give some quotes from the Bhagavatam. Narada Muni is basically omniscient. He knows basically everything that's going to happen in the Lord's pastimes. Actually, before I read from the Harivamsa, I'll read something from the Bhagavatam, which is really interesting. So here's a quote from the 10th canto, 37th chapter, texts 15 to 20, where Narada Muni actually reveals that he's aware of all the pastimes that are going to occur. And he is talking to the Lord while the Lord is in Vrindavan. And he's telling the Lord everything that the Lord's going to do after the Lord leaves Vrindavan. Really interesting. He says, "In just 2 days, O mighty Lord, I will see the deaths of Chanura, Mushtaka, and other wrestlers." He's saying, this is what you're going to do. So is this going to spoil it for Krishna? Because Krishna, he's God, he understands everything past, present, and future. But he's entered into his pastimes where he doesn't want to think of himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he wants to enjoy all these different chivalrous exchanges and humorous exchanges, as we've talked about many times, the different rasas. But he's telling Krishna this, but Krishna will voluntarily not remember these things as he's getting into the moment in his pastimes. And we've mentioned this many times before, devotees should always be right in the moment. In other words, while you're at Mangalarti, just like this morning we had a very, very nice Mangalarti. Whoops. Ecstatic. And so we were in the moment rather than thinking, oh, that after Mangalarti I got to do this. You know, we have some rascal. So after Mangalarti I got to do this. I got my deity worship. After that I got a GBC meeting. Well, I got to give class. After that I got a GBC meeting. After that I'm going to eat. Instead of projecting myself into the future, you know, because I know everything I'm going to do today. Isn't it, basically? I mean, maybe Krishna has some surprises that I'm not aware of. Hopefully he doesn't. But basically, I do know my schedule for today. I'm very regulated. But if you get in, as you're serving Krishna, you should get into the moment. What you're doing, when you're doing it, and just really connect with Krishna. So Krishna's the same way. Anyway, so Narada Muni says, I will see all these things along with the elephant, Kuvalyapita, and King Kamsa, all by your hand. Then I will see you kill Kalyavana, Mura, Naraka, and the conch demon. And I will also see you steal the Parijata flower and defeat Indra. Everything he is. I will then see you marry many daughters of heroic kings after paying for them with your valor. Then, O Lord of the universe, in Dwarka, you will deliver King Riga from a curse, and take for yourself the Shaimataka jewel together with another wife. You will bring back a Brahman's dead son from the abode of your servant Yamraj, and thereafter you will kill Pundraka, burn down the city of Kashi, and slay Dandavakra, and you will also put an end to the king of Chedi during the great Rajasuya sacrifice. I shall see all these heroic pastimes, along with many others you will perform during your residence in Dwarka. These pastimes are glorified on this earth in the songs of transcendental poets. Subsequently, listen to this, I will see you appear as time personified, serving as Arjuna's chariot driver, and destroy the entire armies of soldiers to rid the earth of her burden. So this Narada Muni is a very interesting character, isn't it? I was thinking when I read this yesterday that Narada Muni is very similar to Yogamaya, isn't it? How Yogamaya arranges for all the different pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan and elsewhere. And in the same way, Narada Muni is sort of like working with Yogamaya to arrange these things. So anyway, getting back to this story, Narada Muni comes, and after everybody's in complete anxiety, Narada Muni is going to explain where Aniruddha is. But remember, also Narada Muni has been in this pastime for a long time. Narada Muni was the one who enabled Aniruddha to be kidnapped. Do you remember the story before? There's Chitraleka. Chitraleka comes and she tries to enter Dwarka. But Dwarka, she couldn't enter Dwarka. So Narada Muni tells her how to enter Dwarka. He facilitates her entry into Dwarka. So he's planning the whole thing, arranging the whole thing. And then, of course, then Chitraleka kidnaps, actually not really kidnapped, because Aniruddha went voluntarily. He said, yeah, I've been dreaming about her. Take me to her. So it's not really kidnapping. If you read the Krishna book, you sort of get the impression it's kidnapping, isn't it? That Aniruddha was sleeping and all of a sudden he wakes up in the arms of Usha. But actually, Aniruddha, he's enthusiastic, carry me away to my lover. So anyway, so then Aniruddha is carried to Usha, and then he's discovered by Banasura, And there's the fighting and everything like that. And at the same time, Narada Muni is saying, yeah, you're going to win, don't worry. He's on the side cheering him on, isn't it? So you find Narada Muni's entry into these pastimes, and we can talk about other pastimes in a second. But let's read from the Harivamsa, the short excerpt, about this particular interlude where Narada Muni is actually telling Krishna and the residents of Dwarka where Aniruddha is. So, reading from the Harivamsa, thereupon in the clear morning when the sun rose, the Rishi Narada alone smilingly entered Darba Hill. Seeing Krishna there along with all the Yadavas, he applauded Madhava, exclaiming his victory and honored Ugrasena and others. Though the highly powerful Krishna, invincible in battle, was absent-minded. So he's absent-minded because his mind is thinking, what about Aniruddha? So he's also in anxiety. He's forgotten his omniscience voluntarily to enjoy being in anxiety. It's amazing, isn't it? If you actually think about it. So Krishna is just absent-minded and says, oh, Narada Muni, yeah, I got to receive him, but, what about Aniruddha? Why does he come, when I'm trying to figure this whole thing out? And he doesn't remember at this particular point that Narada Muni must be involved in this whole thing. Narada Muni, he's a real trickster. He's a real trickster. I mean, even there's that story, that Radharani story. I don't know where it comes from, where Krishna tricks Lalita Devi to have been on his swing with Krishna, so that Radharani will get angry. And Krishna actually even warns Radharani beforehand, don't trust this Narada Muni very much. So getting on with the story. Krishna was absent-minded. Still he came up and received Narada, dedicating to him, Madhuparka and cows. So he gave him some cows. Afterwards, seated on a white seat covered with costly cloth, the celestial saint gave vent to the following pregnant words. Narada said, why are you all like eunuchs possessed by anxiety? So he said, why are you anxiety about this whole thing? And he's deliberately put them in anxiety. Silent, dispirited, and discouraged. After the high soul, Narada, had said this, Vasudev replied, O revered sir, O Brahmana, Aniruddha has been stolen away by someone in the night. We are all anxious for him. Tell us, O Muni of firm vows, if you have heard or seen anything about him. O sinless one, by this you will do me a good work. Thus addressed by the high-souled Keshava, he smilingly replied, Hear, O Madhusudana, Vana that's Banasura, of incomparable energy has a daughter by the name of Usha. For her, the Apsara Chitraleka has taken away Kama's son. For this, a great encounter like that between the gods and Asuras had ensued between Vana and Aniruddha. Vanquished in battle, Vana, resorting in fear to his illusory powers, has fettered the highly powerful Aniruddha with serpentine shafts. Oh, Garuda Dwaja! That's Krishna. Vana ordered for his death, but his minister Kumbhanda has prevented him with the words, Prajna has not been taken away by any amongst the Devatas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, Rakshasas. That highly illustrious hero must have been tempted away by some, reading the previous thing. Yeah, I should mention that everybody was thinking that Aniruddha was taken away by some heavenly prostitute before. And so, anyway, let's go on. So here, getting back to the story, is Abhana's assistant is saying, don't kill him. When the prince Aniruddha engaged in conflict with Vana, the latter bound him with serpentine. Wait a second. Anyway. Anyway, so he tells him not to kill him. Thus addressed, the powerful and energetic Vasudeva made all arrangements for marching. When the large armed Janardana was about to start, the citizens from all sides showered him with sandalwood powder and fried paddy. Narada said, here's Narada giving advice to Krishna, O large-armed Krishna, thou shouldest now think of Garuda. You better take Garuda with you. For save him, no one will be able to wend that way. Here, how very difficult passage is that, Janardana. Sonitapura, where Aniruddha is now residing, is 11,000 yojanas distant from this place. A yojana is 8 miles. Sometimes people say 10 miles. So you can figure out how many miles. Shoo. Oh my God. 11,000, that's it. Yeah, 111,000. 111,000 miles. The highly powerful son of Vinata, that's Garuda, is fleet like the mind. He will point out Vana within a moment. O Govinda, therefore, send for him. He will take you there. So in other words, Narada Muni is telling Krishna how to do it, where Aniruddha is. Really amazing aspects of the story from the Harivamsa. And then, another thing I wanted to talk about in regard to Narada Muni is how Narada Muni actually interacts with Krishna in many different pastimes. And I took some quotes here from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Narada Muni is actually arranging for all these different pastimes of Krishna. Of course, the first one we find in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is Narada Muni informing Kamsa that in his previous birth he was the demon Kalanemi, and he was killed by Vishnu. And he getting Kamsa even more and more angry. So Narada Muni also advising Kamsa, he said, Kamsa, you should not spare any of Devaki's children. Because Kamsa was feeling a little compassionate after Vasudeva gave him the first child. He thought, well, it's supposed to be the 8th child. You can keep the other children. But Narada Muni went to him and said, no. Basically, you don't know how they're counting. They could be counting, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So any of these children could be the one who's supposed to kill you. So Narada's intention was that Kamsa, by killing the children, would increase his sinful activity so that Krishna would soon appear to kill him. So Kamsa, upon receiving the instructions of Narada Muni, Kamsa killed all the children of Devaki, one after another. That's from the chapter summary of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, actually, there's a lot of stories here. So, also Narada later on told Kamsa, Yashoda's child was actually a daughter, and Krishna is the son of Devaki. Also, Rama is the son of Rohini. Out of fear, Vasudeva entrusted Krishna and Balaram to his friend Nanda Maharaj, and it is these 2 boys who have killed your men. So he's actually apparently being friendly with the demons to actually help Krishna's pastimes. So let's go on to other pastimes other than Kamsa pastimes. So here's the pastime later on in the Srimad Bhagavatam where Narada Muni is facilitating Krishna's activities. In the 10th canto, 50th chapter, text 44, we have Narada Muni interacting with Kalyavana to encourage him to attack Krishna. Kalyavana possessed, this is a quote, the fury of Lord Shiva in his aspect of Mahakala. Once Kalyavana asked Narada, who are now the strongest kings on earth? Narada replied that the Yadus were. Thus sent by Narada, Kalyavana appeared at Mathura. And another quote. The barbarian, this is about Kalyavana again, the barbarian thought, this person must indeed be Vasudeva, since he possesses the characteristics of Narada mentioned. In other words, Narada gave a complete description of how Krishna looked. He is marked with Shivatsa. He has 4 arms. His eyes are like lotuses. He wears a garland of forest flowers and is extremely handsome. He cannot be anyone else since he goes on foot and unarmed. I will fight him without weapons. So, and here's another story where Narada Muni helps with the Krishna's pastimes. All right. They presented this is from the Bhagavatam story about Prajuna. They presented the huge fist to Shambhara, and when his cooks cut it open, they found a child within its belly. The cooks gave the infant to the maidservant Mayavati, who was astonished to see him. Just then Narada Muni appeared and told her who the infant was. So Narada Muni appears again. Mayavati was actually Kamadev's wife, Rati Devi, and of course the infant was Kamadev. Here's another story where Narada Muni helps Krishna's pastimes in the 10th canto. Finally, Satyabhama had been miffed when Narada Muni brought a celestial parijata flower to Queen Rukmini. So it wasn't Krishna who gave the parijata flower to Queen Rukmini. It was Narada Muni. So Narada Muni wanted to agitate Satyabhama so this other pastime could take place. To pacify Satyabhama, Lord Krishna had promised her, I'll give you a whole tree of these flowers. And thus the Lord scheduled this procurement of a heavenly tree within his itinerary. Another story in the 70th chapter in the 10th canto. When Lord Krishna questioned Narada Muni about the intentions of the Pandavas, the sage replied that the Lord himself is all-powerful and all-knowing, even to the extent that he can bewilder the creator of the universe, Brahma. Narada understood that Lord Krishna desired to kill Jarasandha and was thus beginning to arrange for this pastime by inquiring from Narada about the Pandavas' intentions. Understanding the Lord's own intention, Narada was not astonished when Lord Krishna humbly requested information from him. Here's another story from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is from the 88th chapter. This is about the demon Vrikasura. The demon named Vrika, a son of Shakunis, once met Narada on the road. The wicked fellow asked him which of the 3 chief gods could be pleased most quickly. Narada told him, worship Lord Shiva, and you will soon achieve success. He quickly becomes pleased by seeing his worshippers' slightest good qualities and quickly angered by seeing his slightest fault. He became pleased. Here's another story. This is actually part of the same canto. He became pleased. This is what Narada Muni is telling to Vrikasura. He became pleased with 10-headed Ravana and also with Bana when they chanted his glories like bards in a royal court. Lord Shiva then bestowed unprecedented power upon each of them, but in both cases he was consequently beset with great difficulty. And here's, this story is from the, Harivamsa. How Narada Muni helps with Krishna's pastimes. After Krishna had departed, having bound Virochana's son Bali with 7-hooded serpents such as the Kampana, Ashva, Tora, etc., the celestial saint Narada, of his own accord, came to him who was stricken with pain in consequence thereof. Seeing him thus afflicted and filled with compassion, he said to the king of the Danavas, I will find out the means for releasing you, O king of Daityas, with a purified soul. Meditate on the God of gods, Vasudeva, who is without beginning or end, and is eternal and undecaying, with your mind devoted to him, you will in no time acquire emancipation. Thereupon his soul purified and mind controlled, Virochana's son, that's Bali Maharaj, with folded hands, learned from Narada the means of attaining to emancipation. Having learned that celestial hymn sung by Narada, the great Asura Bali began to recite the names of that great God, that means Krishna's names, by whom the earth was raised up. Of course, that's Lord Varaha. That's from the Harivamsa. And then finally, we have the story in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam of Maniyagriva and Nalakuva, and Narada arranged for them to be later on saved by Krishna. When he knocked them down, they had become trees. So any questions or comments about this? These points about Narada Muni knowing everything and assisting the Lord's pastimes in many different ways. Yeah. Is there any, I don't have any information about that, but it appears that he's working in the same mood as Purnamasi or Yogabaya to assist Krishna, both in Vrindavan and outside Vrindavan, in Dwarka, Vrindavan, and also in these other pastimes, like Bali Maharaj's pastimes, the Vrikasura pastime, like that.
Narada is more intrusive, though, than Purnamasi.
Oh, yeah, much more intrusive. And I think quite a bit more tricky. Mischievous, I would say. Narada is quite mischievous. Interesting. Okay. No other questions, quick questions or comments? It's time to greet the deities. Narada Muni ki jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maravindanalayataptam Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Tamaham bhajami. Angani yasa sakale Priya Priti Manti Pasyan